I'm Mary Grant from Grant's Maple Products, and I've been sugaring myself for 52 years, and my husband's family's been sugaring for 5 generations. This particular tree is my favorite, and it's my favorite because I planted it 47 years ago. And I love it also because it is a super sweet maple tree, where the average maple might give you 1.8 to 2%. This one gives 4 to 4.5%. So it's a really good tree, and it produces a lot of sap. Now, you've heard that Vermonters are tree huggers, and I'll show you why. When we go in the woods, we have to determine whether or not the tree gets 1, 2, or 3 taps. And it's all done by circumference of the tree. But normally we don't carry a tape measure. So we have to kind of know what that circumference is. And we do it by hugging the tree. So we hug the tree, and my hands don't come anywhere near themselves. So I know that this is a 3-tap tree. That's why it has 3 taps. This is our collection station. Here we have vacuum coming in on this pipe right here, and it goes into one of the 2 pails we have here, and that transfers the vacuum to all the lines that go out in the woods. As far as you can see, it does all these lines, and each set of lines has its own main pipeline. Now this receiver, yesterday, which was a very good day, it would dump about every 5 minutes. Today, not quite as good, but not too bad. It's about every 10. So we're happy with that. We use pumps to pump it up to the sugar house. That's our little pump house. And we have an overflow tank over there. So when this one gets filled, it overflows into that one. And that's just a gravity.
And what is happening right there?
The sap is coming out of the main lines into one of these buckets. And when the bucket's full, it's going to dump and then go to the other bucket. And that's all fresh sap that just came out of the tree in the last 3 to 4 minutes. This is a sap ladder. And as a sugar maker, I wish all of my lines would come down so that they would be gravity fed right to my stations, receiving stations. But unfortunately, you can have some really nice trees that are a little too low. So you use this sap ladder to get the sap from this height to that height. And it works the same way a straw works. So the vacuum system is sucking on the straw, and it's taking the sap right up there, and then it's gravity fed right into our dump station. This is our storage tank. It's a 1,400-gallon storage tank, and today it was not big enough. So we had to start very early getting the sap put through the reverse osmosis in order to have room for more sap to come in. Okay? Now the sap goes from this tank into through pipe, into this room right here. And this is our RO room. And the RO is the reverse osmosis. And it's very complicated how reverse osmosis works. But to kind of simplify it, I think of it as a membrane being squeezed. And the more it's squeezed, the more the water molecules want to get out. So the water molecules go across the membrane, but the sugar molecules are too big and they can't. So the sugar molecules are left in the filter, and they get pushed through this pipe up to a storage tank above the arch. Storage tank is gravity fed through this pipe into our preheater. The preheater is a series of pipes that go back and forth, and as the steam from the back pan goes up, it hits those pipes, condenses, and we get hot water and hot sap. The sap comes back and goes in right here, and this is controlled by a float system, so we don't have to pay any attention to this once we set it. Okay, this is our temperature gauge controller, which lets us know when the syrup is at the right temperature. So once it's at the right temperature, it starts to draw off. So they call this the automatic draw off. And the sensor is on the other side of the arch. So we'll go over there. This is the temperature probe, and when it's the right temperature, it opens a valve here, and the syrup goes into this container right here. We're not always correct with the density, so we check it with what's called a Murphy cup. This is a Murphy cup. It really is a thermometer, but the gauge is for density of syrup specifically. So we use this with the hygrometer, and we compare the number, the scale here, to the number on the hygrometer. They need to be the same. We might get some. That's it. The evaporator has two types of pans. The front pan is a flat pan and has 5 sections in it. The back pan is a raised flue pan, and that has 2 sections in it. The reason the back pan is different is with those raised flues, you get more surface area for the heat to hit. And then it boils faster and harder back there. And then it comes automatically through here with another float system to keep the level of syrup in the front pan high enough. We have that container on the other side of the arch filled. We put some diatomaceous earth in it to help filter, and we pump it through the filter press. And the filter press has papers that catch the, I call it sand, the diatomaceous earth, and it filters the syrup so it's nice and clear. Now the reason we use the sand is it has the opposite charge of the syrup. The dirt in the syrup, the little pieces of dirt in the syrup. So when they've got that sand in there, it attracts those pieces of dirt, they stick together, and they don't go through the filter press.
Hello, I'm Doug Grant, and I'm a sugar maker here in Fairfield, Vermont. And what I've got behind me up here are the tools that my great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents used for sugaring here in Fairfield. The yoke is the way they used to gather syrup or sap around the sugar bush from buckets. And it took a real man to spend a day using that to come around and kind of gather all the sap. The other tools that you see up there, you've got the augers. Those were my great-grandfather's. He was a carpenter, and he used to build post and beam barns, and the augers were to drilled the holes for the pegs, which would hold the things together. If you look at the bits, they've got up there bracing bits. You've got the old twist type, which is the original ones they used for hundreds of years. And then you've got the one that came out in the early 1900s, which is the breast dip. And you can see that you can put the back of it against your chest and you leaned into it and then outward into the tap hole. A good man could do about 400 taps a day, and that's enough. The other tools were from my other grandparents. Some of them I don't even know how old they are because the family has been here in Fairfield and Franklin for 7 generations, and most of the Grants only had 1 son or 2 sons, so most of the stuff was passed on, and I got most of it. But that collection includes a lot of stuff that was done by craftsmen in the area, blacksmiths primarily, and then most of them were actually in the town of Sheldon, where most of that stuff was made, because that used to be an area where they did a lot of iron work. And basically that's it. And of course the old ice tongs that you see up there on the left, those are from when they used to have the old ice box for the refrigerator. So they were passed on down to me as well. And that's about it.
What do you have in front of you?
Okay, these are my collection of spelts. And you can see there's several different kinds of spelts. Most of these spelts were actually patented here in Fairfield, Vermont. A few of them, like this one and this one up here, which is aluminum, these were patented in New York. But most of the others were either sole spelts here in Franklin County or liter evaporator in Franklin County. And then of course you come here to what we use today, which is plastic tubing and plastic spelts, plastic tees, and you can see that the different types of spelts you've got for plastic operations. And of course the thing is, with the plastic, there's a couple of big advantages. The first is you can tap early because your taps will not dry out during the season. And the other thing is you can use vacuum system and draw a vacuum on this line right here going to your spelt. And you can actually draw a circle in the wood of approximately 18 inches in diameter that you'll be sucking that sap right out of the tree. So it's much more efficient. You get 2 to 3 times as much sap out of a vacuum system as you get out of a regular tap. So, but I think it's very interesting that the history of a lot of this stuff actually came from Fairfield.
Maple sugaring is a lot of work, and it can't be done by just 1 or 2 people. So we have our neighbors that help us, plus my brother-in-law and sister. And when we're boiling, when people see the steam coming from our sugar house, they stop by to visit, and we get to see people we haven't seen all winter. It turns out to be a lot of fun, and the guys keep working no matter what's going on.